I recently found myself on a very unexpected trip to Glencoe. Deemed as one of Scotland's most beautiful landscapes, it's not hard to see why thousands of people come here every year to see and photograph it. Having said this, I personally have always found Glencoe to be a real challenge to photograph. But this time I had Adam with me and he knows the area pretty well, so I hoped that his presence would help me see a new side to Glencoe and help me fall in love with this landscape that so many people enjoy year on year. Welcome to a very unexpected trip to Glencoe. So today I was meant to be shooting with Adam at the banks of Loch Lomond, but the weather conditions and the scenes before us weren't very interesting, so he's very kindly agreed to come to Glencoe. Now I've been through Glencoe quite a few times, driving through, I've stopped by a few times, but I've never properly explored this location, which might surprise many people because it's one of Scotland's most famous landscape photography locations. But I've never managed to find parts of Glencoe that have really taken my breath away and that I've really wanted to shoot, I suppose. I actually find this landscape in many ways quite barren, and although obviously we've got the really famous mountains here and they look incredible in snow, I've missed all that and I've never been lucky enough to have that. So today, with somebody who knows the area very well, I'm hoping to see some of these locations that are quite famous, some of the locations that many people shoot, and hopefully see a side to Glencoe and the side that a lot of photographers and other people love to come and enjoy. So fingers crossed we get some images. We've got a storm coming in today, so I'm not quite sure how today's going to go, but it's all about the exploration, about having somebody local who knows the area with me and just enjoying the journey after all. I've always really struggled with photographing locations like Glencoe. I mean, of course I can see why they are so famous and why so many photographers and tourists come to this spot particularly. I mean, you've got the epic Scottish mountains, you've got endless walks, you've got beautiful waterfalls and glens. For a lot of people there's a lot to photograph here. But I've always found that my passion and my enthusiasm for photography has always really come from the coast, the changing light, watching weather fronts come in, which you can do here, of course you can. But I also find with places like Glencoe, you've really got to walk quite a long way to get to a good spot. Either that or you park up by the side of the road and photograph the same locations that everybody photographs. I'm really hoping today that I can sort of understand, I guess, why this is such an epic location for photography. But if I can, I guess it just shows that we all find interest and beauty in different parts of the landscape, and it's why, you know, it's one of the great things, I guess, about landscape photography or photography in general. But it's nice to be in a location like this, a location that for a lot of people it's a bucket list location, and just to try and understand it, like I say, understand why it is so famous and why it is so beautiful, and hopefully I'll come away with a photograph or two to share too. We decided to head off the beaten track and see if we could find some interesting and unusual locations and compositions. What we came across was several waterfalls, and while they were beautiful to enjoy and admire, I really struggled to find the inspiration to get my camera out and take some photographs. I was really struggling with this location, as I always do, and it got me thinking why this is the case. I therefore decided to think outside the box and think how else I could photograph this place that wasn't all about the grand vistas and the landscape as a whole. I therefore decided to zoom in close and try and take some intimate shots of the waterfalls and the water
that cascaded through the glen.
It's becoming clear very quickly that the big vistas here today just aren't going to work, and that's what I always find at Glencoe, and I think that's why I struggle with it. Now there's one time when big vistas here work incredibly well, and that is if you hike up the hills when it's really snowy. And Scottish Mountains actually made a video at the tail end of last year where he hiked up to the top of a mountain and photographed the sunrise, and it was incredible. And that's one of my dreams actually, is to hike up one of these mountains at sunrise, photograph the sun rising over the beautiful mountains in the snow, and I hope that one day that dream will come true. But the majority of the time I'm at Glencoe, it's during the day or down in the valleys, and I think that's why I struggle with the grand vistas here, because that's obviously not where the best viewpoints are. So I'm a great believer that you can get good photographs in all conditions. It's just all about working out what to shoot and what not to shoot, and this location therefore I feel is going to be best shooting the more intimate details. And we found this two little waterfalls that sort of come together with some nice inlets in and out of them. So I'm going to shoot here just now, try and get some intimate shots of these waterways, and hopefully salvage something from this Glencoe trip and try and help me fall in love with this iconic location.
Both Adam and I were really trying to get an image here, and although we managed to get a few, neither of us were entirely happy with what we captured. In fact, I was really disappointed with my attempts here. So we headed back to the main road and to Adam's favourite location in Glencoe, this lone tree beside the road itself, which he once shared with the epic Brandon Van Son. Now, although this tree was beautiful as it grew out of the landscape with the epic mountains behind it, I was still really struggling to find that inspiration that I needed to take a photograph. And it kind of got me thinking, does Adam struggle with this too? And if so, what's his thoughts on Glencoe for photography?
There's no denying that Glencoe is absolutely stunning. It's epic. The drive through Glencoe is incredible. But from a photography point of view, I always really struggle when I come here, and it's really starting to bug me today because I was really hoping to get some good images. So I just wonder, like, how do you feel about this? Because you've come here a lot more than I have. Like, do you find Glencoe to be as stunning for photography as a lot of people make it out to be?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Because I've got family in Fort William and I live in Glasgow, so I've gone up and down this road since pretty much I was about 2 months old.
Right.
So I'm used to this road, I'm used to the views, and I always find the views beautiful. But the amount of times I stop in Glencoe to take photos is minimal. Because Glencoe is phenomenal. I'm not dissing Glencoe, so nobody start complaining. It is phenomenal, it is beautiful, but the thing is, the majority of the shots that you see are the honeypot shots that everybody shoots. So you've got Buccleuch of Moor, you've got the Meeting of the Three Waters, you've got the Ralston Cairn, you've got the Three Sisters from the car park, which is generally just more of a tourist shot. You've got Black Rock Cottage, you've got the other wee cottage with the waterfall behind it. If you look, you will see that there is a lot of very similar shots of Glencoe. So yes, it is photogenic and beautiful, but you're generally going to come away with the same images as everyone else, unless you're willing to hike into the unknown, where you could find an absolutely unique, undiscovered gem, or you could spend 2 days hiking in Glencoe and Rannoch Moor, get soaked through to your pants and end up with nothing.
I just find this landscape so barren in many ways, and I mentioned earlier in this video, the only time I have seen Glencoe in in weather that I would love to shoot is when I've seen videos like Scotland's Mountains and Thomas Heaton, where they've hiked up these mountains early in the morning and it's been covered in snow and they've got a gorgeous sunrise, and then you've had these massive vistas and they've been absolutely incredible. I mean, maybe because I've never done these hikes myself, that's why I'm struggling to see the inspiration, but from like the roadside and in the glens and the valleys themselves, I'm really struggling to enjoy this location for photography, and I've always felt like that when I've come here. I don't know.
I feel there's stuff that you can shoot from the roadside, so for maybe it's this is going to sound a bit pompous, but maybe it's the standard of photographer you are, then you start to struggle unless you go to the extremes of, for example, Scotland's mountains, Heaton. There's another guy that's popped out my head, but when you go up high and you, as I said, you go for those hikes, you go for those camps, then yes, you will potentially create these images that nobody else has.
Yeah.
From the roadside though, it is a brilliant location, I would say, for beginners who are getting into landscape photography, because you do have the honeypot locations literally at the roadside. So if you're just getting into photography and watching Kim's channel, yes, Glencoe would be fantastic for you. You can park at Buccleuch Moor and go and stand in a quagmire of marsh to get the biscuit tin shot of Buccleuch Moor with River Cooples Falls in front of you. You've got the Three Sisters right from the car park where the tourists stop. It's all available to you really close, but maybe it's because you're wanting to create something new. You don't want to just mimic.
Maybe. But even like when we first arrived, we went to Buccleuch Moor, and I could see why the mountain is stunning and it's such a unique shape, and I could see how the waterfall in front of it creates a fantastic leading line into the mountain. But I just was, today, I suppose, in every trip, I just really struggled to find the inspiration here to get my camera out. Like the B-roll that I can create for vlogs can look incredible, but the moment I get my camera out and try and take the images, I'm just never satisfied. But then maybe that's because I'm more of a coastal photographer. Maybe I find more inspiration in that landscape, or maybe it's just because, I don't know really. I suppose different landscapes inspire different people. Yeah. But apparently Glencoe is one of the most popular locations in the whole of Scotland, as well as the Isle of Skye, for photography. And I can see 100% why Skye is so popular.
Yeah.
I love Skye. It's got a really warm place in my heart. But I've never felt that for Glencoe, and I feel bad saying that because it's one of Scotland's most iconic places. I've just never felt it.
I do agree. I think I go to the coastal side as well, because I love the Outer Hebrides. I loved going to Shetland and photographing up there. Yeah. And that's coast. Shooting mainland bits of Shetland in the centre, it's barren, there's not much there. You might find something or get an aurora and have foreground interest there, but generally it's the coastal stuff for there that impresses me, and I will generally always end up in S&S up in the top, because the cliffs are phenomenal. You've got the Dorholm, you've got the lighthouse. That's brilliant for me. But I'm the same, I come through Glencoe, and unless there is dramatic light, which you could park up and wait for,
maybe that's what I've missed. Maybe it's
we're
because I've
always
never
in the
seen
rush
that.
going through, and in my head, because I'm always used to going through here just to get to Fort William, in my head I don't I'll sit here, wait and wait and wait, and I've got the light, click.
It's just interesting, I think, really interesting, because this is one of the places that the tourists come. When people come to Scotland to do photography.
And workshops.
Yeah, when they come to Scotland to do photography, to do workshops, to just visit Scotland, everybody wants to come to Glencoe. And I think I can see why, because the drive's phenomenal, the mountains are phenomenal. But just from photography, I struggle. And I just wanted to sort of ask you, what your opinion was, because I feel bad being Scottish and being in this environment and not finding that connection that so many people find when they come here. But I guess a lot of people are starting to explore other parts of Scotland, and I think maybe when you're from here and from different areas, it
spoils you a bit. Sometimes you need to go somewhere new to get that initial spark of interest back into it. Glencoe is phenomenal, but it's the same as to get to Glencoe from Glasgow. You drive through Rannoch Moor, or the moors of Rannoch, whichever way you want to put it, and I drive past that all the time, but in my head I only want to stop for when it is thick snow, frost on the water, still reflective water, and I've got this mental image of the exact photo I want, and if it's not those conditions, I cannot be arsed stopping. The problem is when the conditions are going to be like that,
you don't want to get
getting up at 4 in the morning and I'm staying in my bed because it's snug.
Well, it was interesting though just to sit down and speak about this, and I think also the fact that a massive main road runs through this as well sort of spoils it, because a lot of the locations are right beside the road and you've got these cars rushing past you. I'd rather be on the west coast than these quieter places.
Away from people.
Yeah.
People are terrible.
That's just our views, isn't it? But yeah, it's interesting. What do you think about Glencoe if you've been here? Do you find it to be as attractive and beautiful for photography as you thought it was going to be, or
do you struggle with inspiration?
Yeah,
the same as us?
Yeah. Be interesting to know.
So I guess to round off, we all find inspiration in different parts of the landscape, And for me, Glencoe is very difficult to photograph and find that inspiration from. I'm sure many of you watching this love Glencoe and love to photograph it and all of its beauty and weathers, but for me, it's a real struggle. So please, let me know your thoughts on Glencoe. Do you think it's one of the most epic locations for photography in Scotland, or do you prefer to go to some of the less well-known gems or other locations that this country has to offer?